Okay, first of all, Bruchim Abayim B'Shem Hashem. We have the great schis and honor to have Reb Nasan here. We have Siyata D'Shmaya. Whenever we start something new, a schachas and a good thing here in the shul, Reb Nasan is here. We moved from that tent to this tent. He was here at the right moment. So Baruch Hashem, it's a good opportunity. We're inaugurating this Chabura, Nichsefo, Nafshi, Kishmoy Kein Hu. We're all trying, we're yearning, we want to all connect to tzaddikim, we want to connect to the tzaddik. And who better to help us and hold our hands than Reb Nasan? So tonight's Chabura was sponsored by Avrumi Lili Nishmas, the Blazing Meir, Reb Avram, V'Shein Ben Sham Shav and Aliyah. And of course we want to thank the host, thank you Reb Yamah for providing such a great place for Torah, Tefillah, and Avodas Hashem. That's awesome.
I'll record it.
Okay, great.
Welcome to all those joining us for this special Chabura. Thursday night. Someone just mentioned that Thursday night is the last night of the week that a person is looking to go out, to travel, especially freezing cold, all kinds of circumstances. I remember one of the first things that I heard when I first came to Breslov as a teenager. It was winter time, it was January, similar to now. And I heard there's a pasuk, B'veis Elokeinu nahalech b'rogesh, that to the house of Hashem we go with regesh, means with feeling. And it's brought that the word rogesh is ruach, geshem, sheleg. That those are three of the circumstances that turn many people away. Person knows it's going to be very windy or snow or rain. Those are perfect excuses to say, I have to stay home. And if a person is zoche to overcome the manias, to overcome the obstacles and to come, it's written that from manios becomes ne'imus. Ne'imus means sweetness. The term ne'imus, noyam, is a term that's used to refer to a very, very high level of kedusha. Olam haba is called noyam ho'elyon, special sweetness that a person gets specifically when there's obstacles, when there's things that would be valid excuses, supposedly, not to come, and a person overcomes those excuses. We're in the middle of Shovavim now. Shovavim, not just Shovavim, but it's called Shovavim Tat. That when there's a leap year, so there are 7 weeks. Shmois, Vo'era, Boi, Beshalach, Yisroi, Mishpatim, Truma, Tetzaveh, 8 weeks that are considered special. We know that there's something in Yiddishkeit called Eis Rotzain, that Hashem created this world based on time and space. And they play very important factors in Yiddishkeit. In order to be Jewish, you need a watch. You need to know that can't daven shachris before this, can't put on talis and tefillin before this time, and yet the moment the bell goes off, the moment it's alois shachar, whoever gets there first, whoever puts on talis and tefillin first, it's a different world. The Gemara goes so far to say that a person who's zoche to daven vasikin in the morning, that it's a shmira, it's a protection for the entire day. It makes such a big difference if I daven 6 o'clock or 6:30? The answer is yes. Yes, most definitely. We know a person wants to catch a plane. There are certain things that are important, and if a person doesn't come at the right time, you miss the boat, that kind of thing. So in Yiddishkeit also, time and location make a big difference. A kohen, he's standing over here, he stands over there, he's chayiv kores, misa b'deish, all kinds of penalties. So there are certain times that are considered outstanding for an opportune time to get close to Hashem, to connect to Hashem better. And these 8 weeks are considered a very opportune time for this because of the fact that this is when Klal Yisrael, the entire Jewish nation, went down, almost to the bottom, to the point of no return, 49 levels of tumah, in order in order to achieve the the 49 levels of Kedusha, which would be the preparation for Matan Torah. And it's brought, the Shalom Kodesh says, that these 8 weeks are an opportunity for a person to focus on certain important, special things, which if a person does this, he says it's a guarantee for Hashroas Hashchina, for the person to be able to draw upon himself the divine spirit of Hashem. And he says they're broken up into 2 sets of 2 weeks. Shmois Vo'era, Boi Beshalach, Yisroi Mishpatim, Truma Tetzaveh. Shmois Vo'era is a time when the Yidden experienced suffering, major suffering, and their response was Vatal Shavosam El Hashem, that they cried out to Hashem. So it's a time for a person to strengthen themselves in tefillah, one of the major factors in coming close to Hashem. Boi Beshalach, during Parshas Boi and Beshalach, the Makois, the Mitzrayim are getting the Makois, and Beshalach again, Vayitzaku El Hashem, Tza'oka. The Yidden are crying out to Hashem desperately to be saved. Yisroi Mishpatim are weeks of Torah, Klal Yisrael receiving the Torah, and Truma Tetzaveh are Tzedakah. Tzedakah, Truma, Kol Ish Asher Yidvenu Liboy Tikhu Es Trumasi. And each one of these factors, during this 8-week period, if a person is more conscious of it, more aware of it, and puts effort, each one what they can to improve in these areas, he says that this is an opportune time for a person to be Zeicha to Hashras Hashchina, to be able to draw the divine. A person would say, what are you talking about? You know, Hashras Hashchina is something that applies to the Nevi'im, to the greatest tzaddikim. The Arizal says that when a person comes into shul, many people walk into shul like they walk into any other building or any other place. You open the door and you walk in. The Arizal says you're walking into shul, you're walking into the throne room of Hashem, Hashem's palace. You don't just walk in. A person gets to the doorway, the entranceway, you stop, and for a few seconds, a person thinks that I want to draw upon myself Yira Shema, respect for Hashem. I want to bring myself to a consciousness that I'm not in my living room, I'm not in my kitchen, I'm going into the throne room of Hashem. The rules change completely. A person walks into shul, there's a different set of rules than when a person's in another room, about what you're allowed to talk about, what you can't talk about, how a person sits, all kinds of different factors that come into play. So the Arizal says a person, when they're about to enter into shul, they get to the entranceway and they pause there. For how long? 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and the person thinks for a moment, Beveis Elokim nahalech barogesh, va'ani beroiv chazdecha avoy veisecha, that it's an incredible kindness on the part of Hashem that I'm being allowed to enter into the palace. The Arizal says that a person draws upon themselves Ruach HaKodesh. So a person would say again, what are you talking about? Ruach HaKodesh, you have to roll in the snow, you have to do 84 fasts. That's one way, it's true, that's valid. But again, the Arizal, who was an authority, the Shalom Kodesh, we're talking about tzaddikim, who if they said something, they didn't say it unless they knew what they were talking about. The Arizal says those few seconds are a game changer. It makes a complete difference. So here again, an awareness, these weeks, that every week is choshuv. Every time we hear Kriyas HaTorah, it's choshuv. But the Torah calls these weeks Shoivavim Tat. And the Sifrei Kabbalah explain it was a time of tremendous yerida in order to enable a tremendous aliyah, an upswing, and I want to be part of that. Every year when we lane these parshiyos, the whole story of what took place then is being reinitiated in spiritual form. And I can connect to it through my mind and through my actions. Then in addition, this Shabbos is Shabbos Mevorchim of Adar. And again, Adar is different. It's different than all the other months of the year. We know that there's a mitzvah, not just a mitzvah, but Rabbi Nachman calls it mitzvah gedola, lihios b'simcha tamid. It's a major mitzvah to be happy always. And there are many people of all kinds of levels of Yiddishkeit that say, where does it say? Show me in the mitzvah, the Rambam, show me where it says it's a mitzvah. There's no such mitzvah. There's no such mitzvah. You're right, there is no such mitzvah. It's all 613. It's not one mitzvah. It's all 613 mitzvahs. The Gemara says in Shabbos and in other places that the Shekhinah will not associate with a person mitoich atzvus, mitoich kalasra, only mitoich simcha shel mitzvah. That's the only way that a person can be connected to Hashem. So you're right, it's not a mitzvah, it's the entire Yiddishkeit. The entire Yiddishkeit is dependent on this. The pasuk says, Pikudei Hashem Yeshorim Mesamchei Lev. Not a mitzvah, all of the mitzvahs, Pikudei Hashem, all of the commandments of Hashem, plural, are Yeshorim, are righteous, they bring joy to the heart. If a person's besimcha, he's connected to the Torah, he's connected to Hashem, he's connected to tzadikim. Oyer zaru ala tzadik u'leyishrei leif simcha. Oyer tzadikim yismach. The Hashem and the Torah and the tzadikim are simcha. I bring myself to that frame of mind, I'm connected. I don't have that, I'm less connected. Or chas v'shalom, disconnected. It could be a complete disconnect. Now the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch says, Mishenichnas Adar, that in Adar, it's more than any other month, marbin besimcha. More than usual, more than typical, every day. On Tisha B'Av, a Jew is supposed to be, a person does not have a heter not to be besimcha. You have a heter not to dance, not to listen to music, the simcha shouldn't show itself in that manner. But if a person davens, the Arizal says, if a person davens a tefillah and they're not happy at the time, it's like a servant bringing a tray of food to the king with an angry look on his face, with a scowl or a negative look. The Arizal says, how do you think that king accepts that? How do you think he accepts it? So that on Tisha B'Av, a person does not have a heter not to be besimcha when they're davening, when they're learning the stories of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. What am I besimcha? I'm besimcha that there was a Churban and it's going to lead to a binyan. The Gemara says, Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim, they saw the foxes going through, they cried and he smiled. And he explained why. Because I see the Churban, I see the darkness, I know there's going to be light. That's what Yiddishkeit teaches us. That a full cycle is Vayihi Erev, Vayivoiker Yoim Echad. It starts with darkness, it starts with Yerida, and it goes into Aliyah. So Mishenichnas Adar Marbin Besimcha, what are we happy about? What are we celebrating? We're celebrating two special things, Purim and Pesach. This year we have an Adarisha and Adarsheni. Purim is Mechias Amalek, and Amalek is called Reishis Goyim. Amalek is all about Atzvus. How do we know? Because Amalek, Haman and Amalek, Haman was a descendant of Amalek. Where does Haman come from? The Gemara says, where does Haman originate from? From the Eitz Hadas. Hamin ha'etz hazeh. What is the Eitz Hadas? What did the Eitz Hadas bring to the world? Be'itzavoin toichalena. Be'etzev tel dibonim. That was the curse. That Parnasa is going to be a struggle. It's going to have atzvus. There's going to be a battle not to get depressed in the quest for Parnasa and to bring children into the world. Be'etzev tel dibonim. The struggle to get married, the struggle to have children, and then the struggle to raise children, especially in our times, in our generation. So Haman, Amalek is Atzvus. How did they do battle? How do we do battle against Haman, Amalek? Simcha, Marbin Besimcha, the month of Adar, that this month, which is the yahrzeit and birth of Moshe Rabbeinu, this month, Asher Nepach, which got turned around, Me'evel Simcha. That's one aspect of the Simcha. And number two, we're preparing for Pesach. Purim and Pesach go together these 2 months. What is Pesach? Pesach is Geula. What is Geula? Geula is Simcha. There's a pasuk, Ki besimcha teitzeyun. With Simcha, we exit. Exit from what? Exit from darkness, exit from tzimtzum, from imprisonment, from dinim. Again, the Arizal says that the word go'al, gimel aleph lamed, one of the codes that the Gemara uses is atbash, where you switch the third letter, gimel, for the third letter from the end. And you switch aleph, the word go'al in atbash is keser. That in order for there to be a geula, when we're in golus, when we're in such a low place, we have to draw light from the highest source in order to get us out of there. What is that light? It's a pasuk. V'simchas oilam al roisham. Eternal joy on their head. Not bir al roisham. What's on the head? A crown. A crown. That simcha is referred to as this keser, the highest level of kedusha. This we're starting, hopefully. Shabbos Mevorchen. Shabbos is a time. I remember my Rebbe, Reb Michal Zechron Levrach, always used to say that Shabbos prepares the coming week. Shabbos lays the foundation for the coming week. That's why we have, again, Shabbos Mevorchen, that Rosh Chodesh is going to be in the middle of the week. There's going to be a Yom Kippur Koton and 2 days Rosh Chodesh. But the whole foundation for it is being laid on Shabbos Mevorchen. And this Shabbos here especially, there's an incredible celebration, a Hachnosa Sefer Torah, Im Yitz Hashem. We should be Zoicha to go into this period with ready for battle. What's the battle? The battle is to do battle against the Atzvus, the Marash Choiro, all the different excuses that the Yetzer Hara is giving to pull us down. A person hears the news, they hear what's going on in the world, or a person sees what's going on right around them. The Yetzer Hara has so many different weapons now to try to pull us down or to try to distract us. To distract us from staying focused. What is my mission? What can I do? News that China, that you can't, can you do something about that? So what are you draining a cup for? What are you wasting time? What I can do mitzvahs and Nasan tovim. I can go to shul, I can get to shul on time or early. I always mention one of my rebbes, he was never on time for shul, never. At least 15 minutes or a half hour before. Who comes on time? 7 o'clock is you come 7 o'clock. You get gleich harein in the chuppah, you go straight into the chuppah when you go to a wedding. There's a shmorg, there's a smorgasbord. You don't come straight to the, you come for tefillah. Something important. I'm meeting with the king. I'm meeting with Hashem. And Hashem says 7 o'clock meeting. You show up 7 o'clock? You show up 7 o'clock? I remember he said he grew up in Russia. And in Russia, when business people would meet, they'd arrange to meet at a train station, 12 o'clock. 12:01, if the person wasn't there, the other person left and wouldn't do business with them anymore. Why? What do you mean? The train came late. You come 12 o'clock? If it's an important business meeting, you don't want to be there 12 o'clock. You want to be there 11:30, 11:15. That's when you get there. And make sure you're in the right place. You see and everything. And then 10 to 12, you walk over to the place where you arranged to meet so that there's no possibility just about of missing out, of being late, that kind of thing. This zrizus goes together with simcha. Atzvus and atzlus go together. Those are a set. Rabbeinu Zal writes, Iker neshichas hanochosh is atzvus v'atzlus. The main bite of the snake is depression and laziness. Those two go together. That's slowness. And the opposite of that is zrizus and simcha. Avram Avinu set the example, our founding father, Vayashkem Avraham Baboiker. Everybody gets up in the morning. No. He got up in the morning. He got up early. He was going to the Akedah. I don't want to miss this. This was the 10th of 10 tests. And running to get up early to be able to make sure it's being done properly. That kind of thing. One of the outstanding things in this week's Parsha, Mishpatim, is it's packed with mitzvahs, the Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, all based on this, And then there's other fantastic things in this parsha, like in all the parshas. One of the mitzvahs that's presented is Kisira chamoyer soinacho roivetz tachas masoi. If you'll see your friend's donkey struggling under a heavy burden, he's not managing. Ozoiv loisucha lesalim. Don't make believe you don't see. My Rebbe Rav Rosenfeld used to joke that in America there's a saying, MYOB, mind your own business. MYOB, that's the... But the Torah says differently. The Torah says that there's a time for that. Bilam said, "Matoivu oyolecho Yaakov mishkanesecha Yisrael." He saw the beauty of Klal Yisrael, that people respect each other's privacy. There's a time for privacy. There's a time not to look into somebody else's house, not to look at somebody's car, not to look. But when somebody's struggling, when there's a possibility that somebody's struggling, I can't say I don't care. I can't say I don't see. I want to see, I want to find out to see if I can do something about it. There's a story with the Baal Shem Tov, a famous story when the Baal Shem Tov was traveling to Eretz Yisrael. When he tried to get to Eretz Yisrael, and in the end he wasn't successful, but he was in Turkey, and the Sultan and all the anti-Semites there had gotten together and decided that on Shvi Shel Pesach they're going to murder a massacre, they're going to murder all the Jews in Istanbul. And they united, all the people, the Sultan and all of his ministers united on this. They made a pact, and no one is allowed to reveal it to anybody. And sure enough, there was a tailor that worked for the Sultan, a Jewish tailor, and a tailor, nobody looked at him. He overheard this, and he went running. He wanted to go to the Parnasei to inform them, to do something, the tefillah, something. And meanwhile, he passes the hotel where the Baal Shem Tov is there, and he hears him singing, Liois seinif lois gedoi lois levadoi ki. And he's thinking, he's singing. He doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know what's coming tomorrow morning. And then at one point he got curious. He goes in and he sees the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov asks him, what do you do? Where are you going? And if he sees it, he tells him there's a decree, there's a massacre going to take place tomorrow. So the Baal Shem Tov asks him, what are you doing about it? He says, me doing? So he says, then why do you know about it? If you know about it, then it's a sign that you're in a position to do something about it. When a person witnesses, when a person hears that somebody is struggling, it's a message to me that there's something I can do. I can either find somebody that can help them, or I can be mispalel. That I can always do. I can be mispalel for the person. The fact that I know, that I'm aware of something, so here the pasuk says, Lo sucha lesalim, that a yid does not have the right, permission, to look away, to make believe you don't see. Ozoiv tazoiv imoy. Go in and help the person. Go in and help, do whatever you can with him, together with him, help him straighten out the issue. And the Gemara says there's a very important message there with him, that if a Jew says, I can't do anything, you have to help me, then there's no chiyuv to help that person. If a Jew shows a willingness to do what they can to try to help themselves, then if they do 1%, Hashem says, Pischuli Pesach ke pischoi shel machat. Open up, give me an opening like a needle hole, and I'll open it ke pischoi shel ulam. I'll open it all the way, all the way. Here again, the halacha says that the person has to show some initiative. The person has to show that they want to help themselves. I remember one of my Rebbe's, Reb Michal Dorfman Zichron Livracha, used to say that there's 3 requirements. A person, no matter what kind of a problem a person's dealing with, there's 3 requirements, which if those 3 requirements are satisfied, the person can be helped. If not, the person cannot be helped. Number 1, the person has to recognize and realize that they have a problem. Can't be denial. When a person's in denial, chas v'shalom, can't be helped. Number 2, the person has to want to be helped. Number 3, the person has to believe that they can be helped. If all three of those conditions are met, then it's possible to help any kind of emergency through all the eitzos that the Torah gives. And here's one of the places where the Torah points this out, that ozoiv tazoiv imoi, the tzaddik, the greatest tzaddik in the world, can help a person if the person is willing to do their part. If the person is willing to put out a hand, then the tzaddik can grab that hand and pull. But if chas v'sholem, the person isn't willing to do that isarusa de lasata, we know that in Mitzrayim, the Yidden were told Pesach and Mila. They had to do something. It wasn't enough, but it was something, a slight isarusa de lasata, and then Hashem went in and did an incredible miracle, to save Klal Yisrael. This is on a Gashmi level, and this is on a Kisire Chamoyer Soinacha. The Gemara says Soinacha. Who does a Jew hate? A Jew hate only a person doing Aveiros. Jew doesn't hate another Jew, and even there we don't hate the person, we hate the Aveira. Yitamu Chatoim. So and Chamoyer means Chumrius. If you will see the Gashmius of another person taking over the person and turning him into an enemy, Chas v'sholom, he's going against Hashem. Ozoiv tazoiv imoy. A Jew has a mitzvah to try to help that person. Every single person has this responsibility to speak to a Jew about Hashem, to speak to a Jew about Yira Shamayim, about Emunah, those kind of things. And there are stories of very little guys who were able to turn on very, very big people, great people. One of the famous stories in Breslov, in Poland. In Poland, there were Rabbonim, there were Talmidei Chachamim who would come to shul 3 o'clock in the morning to learn. Davening was 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. They wanted to come into the tefillah of Shacharis with a suitcase full of a few pages of Shulchan Aruch, Gemara, a lot. And then there was a shoemaker in the city who started coming into the shul 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'd see him walk past them, and he'd sit down in a corner of the shul on a low bench, and he's shaking. So at first they thought he must have gotten into a fight with his wife, or son got thrown out, that who knows what, the electricity went out in his house. He came to the shul to warm up. But then they got curious a little, and somebody asked him, what are you doing here? He can't learn, he's not he said to them, you Talmidei Chachamim, you have the Torah and everything. You don't miss the Beis Hamikdash that much. You don't feel the chisoron. But me, I'm not on a madrega yet to learn that. And I think about the fact that we don't have a Beis Hamikdash. We're in Gola so I try every night to say a few tefillos, pleading with Hashem to give us back the Beis Hamikdash. They saw a level of emes. They saw that he had something they didn't have. People say, what do you mean they didn't have? They learned Gemara also, they learned Shulchan Aruch also. The Gemara says that Abaye is one of the most famous Rabbonim in the entire Shas. Abaye was so special that he had a baskoil come from Shamayim once a year on Yom Kippur to give him a greeting, to give him a special greeting. The Gemara says Abba, who was a bloodletter, a type of doctor in those days, he had this baskoil on a daily basis. And Abaye found out about it, and he thought, I must be doing something very wrong if I get it once a year. And the Gemara says that Min HaShamayim, they told him he's not doing anything wrong. What you're doing is important. What he's doing is important. You can't do what he can, and he can't do what you can. Every single year, the fact that Hashem created me means there's something that only I can give, that nobody else can give. And if I don't do my part, chas v'shalom, we're missing, there's an assembly line. We're putting together a car. Every piece is important. The brakes and the accelerator and this screw, one screw is missing sometimes and the whole thing won't work, period. Each person's contribution is important and makes a world of difference, an incredible world of difference. So here they asked him, where did you hear that? Like, where did you get this from? So he said, I learned these Sforim, the Breslov Sforim, and it talks there about Chatzois Laila, about how special this is, special time. They started looking at two Rabbonim, Rab Mordechai Sokolov and another Rav, who became Mekurev to Rabbi through this shoemaker. They saw his pashta, his emes, his tmimus, and they were awed. They saw that they could learn from him. There was something they could learn from him. So this is this obligation. A person sometimes thinks, who am I to say something? If a person speaks with emes, with honesty and sincerity, and without any arrogance, we know again there are rules. There are rules of how to talk, when to talk. When a person sees someone doing something wrong, it says, "Hoicheach toichiach es amisecha." If the person is your friend, if you love that person, then you can point out something that they're doing wrong. If you don't love that person, keep back 2,000 feet. Don't you dare tell them what they're doing wrong. Because chas v'shalom, you'll make it worse. You'll put fuel into the fire, chas v'shalom. So here the Torah tells us, Ozoiv ta'zoiv imoy, that there's a mitzvah, that there's chesed with money, there's chesed with time sometimes. And a person has I've seen this thousands of times. In our times, there are people that have all kinds of problems and difficulties and struggles. And a person says, I can't even solve my own problem. I'm going to solve it's ridiculous. There's nothing I can possibly do. And a person doesn't realize that sometimes just to give a person a listening ear, the pasuk says, Daiga b'leivish yisochena, that when a person has worries, problems, a person is going through something very difficult, if they have someone who's willing to listen, who's capable of listening, to give the time, to take the 10 minutes or the half hour to listen, just to hear the other person out, even though I know I'm nowhere near a level to be able to tell that person what to do. And the person, and so many cases that I've seen with my own eyes, that the person says afterwards, thank you so much for listening. The person themselves feels a major change, that I got it off my chest. I was able to say it. I was able to talk about it. That alone sometimes is 80% of the solution, because a person is carrying boulders. These problems are boulders on a person's heart, leiv ho'even. The Torah speaks about leiv ho'even. In Yiddish they say a versteinete hearts. A person's heart is packed with stones, problems, different things. And if a person has who to tell it to sometimes, it makes a world of a difference. So a person would say, don't tell it to me, tell it to Hashem. It's true, that's very important, very valid. Again, there's a story of one of the Breslovers who once met his friend in the street, and he stopped him and he started telling him a whole major problem that he had. And when he finished, he said to his friend, really, I needed to tell this to Hashem. But sometimes it's harder, it's more difficult to talk to Hashem than to talk to a person. So I spoke to you knowing that Hashem is listening. Hashem is listening. This was my hispaitis, this was a tefillah. But sometimes it's easier. Not everybody could do that when you don't see Hashem and you don't... I'm talking to a friend, somebody who I know cares and is willing to listen, it makes it easier. And again, I have in mind that Hashem is listening, that I'm not just saying it to him. And again, the Torah says this clearly, Daiga b'leivish yisochena. Say it, talk it out. That alone will make a world of difference in being able to remove the problem. Regarding this union of imoy, that the person has to be show willingness to receive help or to help themselves. There's a halacha hashovas aveda, that a person loses something, and you're walking in the street and you see it. Loisucha lesalem. A Jew cannot say myob. If I pick it up, I'm gonna have to look to see whose it is, and I'm gonna have to call up, make a phone. It's one of the Taryag mitzvahs. It's not just one of the Taryag mitzvahs, but that's how every Jew starts our journey in this world. The Gemara says in Nida that while the baby is inside the mother's womb, there's a malach that's learning with the baby, teaching the baby everything, everything that child can be masig in Torah about Hashem in Yiddishkeit. Right as the child comes out of the mother's womb, the malach flicks the child over here, and the child forgets everything. And they make the child swear, mashbiyan oisai, that I'm going to spend my life searching for that lost article. Searching for that lost article. Forgetting, how does a person lose something? I forgot my suitcase. Person forgot something there. Hesach hadas, it's called. A person loses consciousness for a minute. The mental connection to that thing, that's how it gets lost. So our whole mission in this world is Hashavas Aveda, to retrieve our lost articles. A shidduch, a person looking to get married, it's Hashavas Aveda. It's the other part of my soul that got separated, that's lost, and I'm looking to put it back together. So here, it says that a mitzvah to pick, if you look around first to see, anyone lose this, no one's there, no one's around, you have to take it home. Take it home and put up a sign or put some kind of a notification that if someone lost this article, a watch, a wallet, a briefcase, please contact this phone number. However, in that note that you put up with it, you're not supposed to describe it in detail. You're supposed to mention the article in a way that a person will know if they lost the suitcase, that now the person comes to you. It says, return it to him. The wording in the pasuk, tidrashenu. And the Gemara says there's a drisha v'chakira that has to take place. There's an investigation. They have to investigate the person to see if he isn't a thief, a liar. Who are we talking about here? Who are we talking about? Yiddish mention. A Yid is going to lie? The answer is that this world is called Olam HaSheker. This world is called Olam HaSheker. It says this street, it says Main Street, and right on bottom, right underneath it, it says Sheker, Sheker, Sheker. Rechoiv Me'asharim, Sheker. The whole world, Sheker, it's Olam HaSheker, period. So the Gemara says, Kabdeyu v'chashdeyu, that you're not allowed to assume if he's Jew, if he's wearing a black hat, he must be a tzaddik. And if he's got a beard, he's a tzaddik emes. Who knows what he is? No such thing. Tidrashenu, check him out. See Simonim. Tell me, you lost the suitcase. What was in it? Can you describe it? Can you tell me details? And so Rabbeinu Zal says in Likutei Moharan that all of us, our Avedas, when we come into the world, this Aveda, we lose all of this Torah knowledge and everything. And unfortunately, most people come into the world and they forget what they're here for, totally. They get distracted, all kinds of other things, and forget they don't go searching for this Aveda at all. So there's a lot of unclaimed baggage. People know. You go into the airport, other places. What kind of thing? I remember, again, my Rebbe, Reb Michal Zichron Livrocha, would go to the mikveh every day, and especially on Erev Shabbos. And he comes into the mikveh, and he sees a pair of pants there. And he says, he went home without his pants. I don't get it. How could it be?
Yeah, sometimes you see shoes on the road. How does that happen?
It's a reality. We know it's a reality. It's real. So now, many people have not claimed their lost article. What happens? The tzaddikim, Rabbeinu Zal says, the tzaddik, he hits the ground running. The moment he comes into the world, he's serving Hashem, he retrieves his own Aveda, and he retrieves all of those unclaimed lost articles, he retrieves that also. So now, we who are in this world, if we want to be able to retrieve our connection to Hashem, we need the help of the tzaddikim. The Baal Shem Tov says, Zeh hashar Hashem. This is the entranceway to Hashem. What is the entranceway to Hashem? Tzaddikim. That's the entranceway. Through them, yavoyu voy. So I need to go to the tzaddik to claim my lost article. But Rabbeinu Zal says, the tzaddik has a chiyuv, a responsibility to test the person to see, is he a ramai? Is he a liar? What do you mean, is he a liar? Is Is he coming the right way with the right attitude, or is he coming with the wrong attitude? The Baal Shem Tov says that there's a pasuk, emes me'eretz titzmach, that truth grows from the ground. So he says, sounds easy. If you told me that the truth is found in Tibet or in some hidden place, if it's growing from the ground, what's the big deal? He says when something's growing from the ground and you want to get it, you have to bend down. You have to bend down and then you can pick it up. He says that's where 99% of the world is disqualified. No thanks. I'll stick to sheker. I'll hold on to sheker. I'd rather live the lie than have to endure any insult, any embarrassment, any shame for seeking the emes, for being religious, for trying to be more religious, anything, to trying to get close to tzaddikim. If that's going to involve shame, we should be zeicher that we're going into this season, we're going into Shabbos, it's Thursday night, tomorrow's Erev Shabbos. The Gemara says that on Shabbos, even in Amorah, it says afraid to lie. Shabbos is called emes. And a Shabbos that's going to be combined in Yitzhak Hashem here with the Torah, which is emes. And going into these months of Adar and Nisan, which are months of Simcha and Geula. The Gemara says, B'Nisan nigalu, B'Nisan asid nigoyel. My Rebbe Rav Rosenfeld used to stress his Talmidim in Adar, daven for Mashiach. The Gemara says one of the 6 questions, before they examine in detail a person's record in Shamayim, they first ask 6 questions. One of those questions is Tzipisa li Yeshua. Were you hoping for Mashiach? Were you metzape li Yeshua? And in Shemon Esrei, when we say those words, ki lishuascha kivinu kol hayoim umetzapim lishua, it's referring to the fact that I'm waiting for Mashiach to come now, today. I'm hoping and praying and waiting he should come now. We should be zeich, especially now, to be more conscious of it and to do our part in bringing about the Gula Shlema, the Simcha Kloli of all of Klal Yisrael with the coming of Mashiach and Herav Yameinu. Amen v'Amen.
Yeah, I know,